system that spots suspicious transactions, connects cyber signals, and helps investigators stop fraud before it spreads. Fraud detection just got smarter. AI can do what now? Welcome everyone. I'm Lisa Jones-Huff, Senior Director of the Global Security Specialist team here at Elastic, and today I'm joined by Joe Murin, Principal Solutions Architect. Joe, welcome.
Hi everybody, nice to meet you on camera, and thanks for having me today.
All right, Joe, let's get started. So Joe, you know how much I love storytelling with data, but why are a couple of security people on this call today to talk about financial fraud?
Great question, and I guess maybe it's inherent to our job, right? I work for you, Lisa. We're the global security architects, right? And what that means is we get to go talk to a bunch of analyst teams, kind of figure out what their pain points are, and we do that a lot with classic enterprise security teams, of course, but we come across these risk teams, especially in that financial vertical, where what you see is that, like, kind of hate to say it this way, but like security is fraud, fraud is security, meaning these two groups of analysts, oftentimes operating independently. Hopefully we'll see them working more and more together, but regardless, their day in the life is the same, right? They need to get access to logs, they need to search those logs, they need to find notable events, whatever those are, and triage, escalate, collaborate, case management, all those things. So I think it's, again, just inherent to our job is going on and talking to these teams about, what keeps them up at night, what are they trying to solve, what don't they see today they wish they could see, and all those things. Just happens in the financial vertical that the logs look a little different, right? Like, instead of talking about packets and processes, we'll be talking about dollars and cents and transactions and things like that. So
now that makes sense, Joe. And talking about logs looking differently, how important was it, Joe, for you to partner with the data owners for this specific use case to understand the different types of data that you had available and the context that supports it?
I mean, definitely, right? And any use case, right? You should be familiar with your data. And, just me, myself, and I, as a security person walking in and maybe working with a financial group, I don't have an economics degree, right? I didn't work insurance fraud for 25 years or something like that. I don't have the same spidey sense that they have built up. And talking with them and saying, show me your logs. What does this field mean? Or just asking them, what does fraud look like to you? And what are the things, again, like those spidey sense intuitions that you, as a fraud analyst who looks at this all the time, can you tell me about those? Can you explain them to me and let me kind of translate them to things like detection techniques within a security platform, of course, Elastic today. But again, I mean, that's kind of what I would say is getting familiar with their data, especially if you're a security person like me walking in, you might not be familiar with all the dispositions that transactions go through before it's approved, and just having that domain expertise of those human beings in the room and talking you through it.
Yeah, makes sense. Now, this is an AI podcast, Joe, and we're here to talk AI. So you mentioned earlier a little bit about shared challenges. What are those challenges, and is there any way that AI is helping to alleviate some of those challenges?
Sure. I mean, they share a lot of the challenges, right? I said their day in the life of left to right, some sort of fraud campaign looks near identical to a security incident, right? As far as the motions they go through. But what I say is, like, the challenge, a shared challenge, it's a challenge for everybody. It's everybody's least favorite. It's probably just onboarding that data in the first place. And I would say, like, that problem or that challenge is exacerbated even in the financial domain, just because you're not dealing with some of the the standard firewall logs everybody's been ingesting for the last 30 years. You're dealing with a lot of proprietary software, a lot of homegrown applications that were developed over 20 years, and who knows what things are named and what their logging level even is. And so how does AI help us, right? That traditionally was a time-consuming part of an analyst's life. They'd have to parse out logs and really roll up their sleeves and say, how are we going to get this into the platform? And what the heck is the name of that field anyways? And now, like, actually baked into Elastic, but you can think of what that generative AI process might look like is we can provide a number of these sample events and say, you figure it out. And what it's going to do is maybe build that medium that we need to actually onboard the logs, but also like categorize the logs and parse the logs and do all kinds of stuff for us. So it's not changing the analyst motion, but it's really moving them through it faster. And specifically there was a time-consuming pain point.
No, makes perfect sense. Joe, everyone's talking about AI, and it's been around since the war, right? And people use it in very broad terms. So can you describe a little bit about how Elastic leverages machine learning, specifically as it relates to this use case?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. AI is huge, right? We've been talking about, people have been talking about AI for a long time, right? ChatGPT might have just had its 3-year birthday a little while ago, but AI is not necessarily new. And a portion of those kind of detection techniques would be something called machine learning, where you're essentially just going to, maybe in this case of Elastic, we might use something called unsupervised machine learning. And I apologize if this gets nerdy, but what that means is we're going to just throw time series telemetry at the platform, right?
Right.
And it's going to understand the behaviors of different entities over time, depending on how you set things up. And it might tell you, like, hey, Joe doesn't normally log in that time of day, right? Or he doesn't normally do this thing after he logs in. Or it might be a lot of math, like, hey, this is a bigger dollar value than we normally see, right? But what's kind of cool is, again, that's baked into the stack. It was baked into the Elastic Stack, where whatever telemetry you get into the platform can be used to educate a math model. And oftentimes in our world, that tends to be time series telemetry as these events are taking place. So it's very well suited. Sorry, I'm rambling, but the last thing I'll say is, yes, behavioral analytics, but a lot of times in security and risk, you're talking about my known threats versus my unknown threats, and just something like machine learning and unsupervised machine learning, floating those anomalies to the top that are bespoke to like you and your customers' typical behaviors. Is again really that unknown posture that nobody knows except you with your telemetry.
No, that makes sense, Joe. Thank you for that. And I'm wondering, can you talk a little bit more about how Elastic Security is using different AI-powered techniques outside of machine learning to help detect these types of adversarial behaviors? Because you mentioned the unknown and the known, and machine learning is traditionally leveraged to identify the unknown threats. So can you give us a little bit more about how the generative AI portion of this comes into play when we're talking about Elastic in terms of detections and bubbling up things that are interesting for a customer?
Yeah, absolutely. Like RAG-enabled generative AI, whatever the heck that means, right? It just means it allows you to kind of look at the notable events you currently have on your system, that authoritative context, and ask really relevant questions of an LLM, right, of your choosing. But essentially what that means is, and how might it help me discover a greater fraud campaign is, again, I have this platform, I got flashing notable events maybe going off left and right, and I need to make sense of them faster than I did before, maybe stitch them together faster than I did before, maybe infer things from those events that are happening, provide the analyst next steps, things like that. At least in Elastic and Elastic Security, that's called attack discovery, where it is doing just that. It's ripping through all those notable events and really reiterating, summarizing, whatever you want to call it, filling in domain gaps, stuff like that, single fraud campaign that's probably playing out over many individual indicators and over time, right?
Yep. That makes perfect sense. So, Joe, talk to me a little bit more about some of the other detection techniques, because again, we talked about the known and the unknown. So can you give us an understanding of how a comprehensive approach of both identifying known and unknown threats is important when you're trying to solve a use case as complex as this one?
Yeah, it's like actually my favorite part of Elastic Security is the verbose tool sets that it provides you to describe an adversarial's behavior. So generative AI is cool. Machine learning is cool. Unknown threats are cool. But don't count out like a classic, if I can describe it with a query, tell me about it, right? And of course we do things like that. We're gonna allow you to describe things like in the context of thresholds, like if I see too much of something within time, tell me about it. Or sequences, if this happens and then this happens and then this happens and this doesn't happen and then this tell me about it. Whatever you can imagine, right? Classic security motions like threat intelligence, although maybe again in the financial sector, threat intelligence might look different. It might be self-reported fraud, it might be merchants that are doing so, it might be whatever it is, right? But just matching different indicators via known threat intel is something you can do in the platform, and that's not all of them. I'm not even listing it, right? But what I'm getting at is it's important to have a lot of different ways to describe adversarial behaviors, because a fraud campaign isn't any one thing. And you're going to have lots of different detections kind of firing off, again, over time, whatever this plays out over. And you're going to, again, need a lot of the tooling to help describe that.
Thank you, Joe, for that. Now, considering that you've actually had these types of conversations with customers already that are leveraging the Elastic platform, what's something that you would share to groups that are maybe considering converging these groups or having them work less in silos? What would be some of the best practices that you would share with some of these groups that may be considering this?
Yeah. No, you're right. Like, gosh, I just saw this thing and this guy was talking about like, hey, with a few more logs, I can tell you a whole bunch of news stories. Like if I'm already getting firewall logs, but I throw in dollars and cents logs, I can tell you about the brute force that occurred before the currency exfiltration, right? So this sounds exciting. And maybe you want to add some more logs to your platform. And I would just say like, sure, go do that. Go troll your data, start getting familiar with it. But it's important when you start thinking about this in production that you consider things like data schema and data model. And it's a little boring, but I'm going to tell everybody to just like slow down, take one of those probably new, probably proprietary logs at a time, get familiar with it, come up with some sort of consistent naming scheme. For example, if you're using Elastic, we provide something called ECS. It just means that all IP addresses are called the same thing, right? And once you kind of normalize your telemetry, then come up with a data model, right? Like, how can I enrich my data to help inform my investigation? Maybe I'll handle things differently if, you know, the transactions and questions are Taylor Swift's and not Joe's, right? Because they're going to look a lot different. So again, data schema followed by an enriched data model is the goal. And that doesn't all get done in one day. And in fact, it's a continued kind of rinse and repeat and refinement of your data model, right? But again, new logs, get familiar with it, think about a normalized schema, and then think about how I can enrich that data to help tell my story faster.
No, that makes perfect sense, Joe. So, Joe, final question. Is there anything that's coming up in the future that you're excited about that's related to financial fraud or the FinServ industry itself?
I love like predictions, right? I'm just a boring old person here. And what I would say is like, I'd love to be like, oh, this like cool agentic or agent build. We have all that stuff, right? But what I'd say, especially in the financial vertical, what I'm excited about is there seems to be this critical mass that's happening between establishing what's called a framework.
Right.
What the heck is a framework? So in the world of security, you might have heard of this thing called ATT&CK. It's by this not-for-profit organization called MITRE. Adversary tactic, techniques, and common knowledge. And it's very detailed and it allows you to describe a security campaign as it progresses left to right through your environment, right? What did that discovery look like? What did exfiltration look like? How they maintain persistence? All those things can be described. And now, the financial vertical wasn't as mature. They didn't have a great framework and still don't have a framework that we can all agree on that describes like, sure, a security campaign is one thing, but what's money laundering look like, right? What is it? What are these identity theft followed by mass account? What does that all look like? And now you're seeing MITRE's one of them. They're coming up with a framework called Fight Financial Fraud or the F3 framework. Again, it's in its early days, and we've even seen other industry, other specific companies out there all tackling this. And I'm sure the companies you all might work for are tackling this independently too. But for example, Stripe has a nice publicly accessible on GitHub framework called the FT3 fraud tools, tactics, and techniques, right? So again, I would just love to see a framework really evolve over the next year or two that we can all agree on. And I know I'm getting wordy, but what that means is if we have a schema we can agree on, a data model we can agree on with a framework that helps describe fraud campaigns, software companies like us and any other one out there can start creating like out of the box content, right? That's looking at your logs and describing these fraud techniques again with maybe you just turning something on and not having to write a lot of content yourself. So, I mean, that's what I'm excited about. Standards.
I know you think it's boring, but I'm telling you, dude, you got me excited about standards. God darn it. Giddy up. Let's go. So, well, to wrap things up, folks, what we heard today is that Elastic Security plays a critical role in financial fraud detection. Fraud campaigns are increasingly cyber-enabled, and the most forward-thinking organizations are uniting their security and fraud teams, or at least considering it, into broader risk groups. By adopting a single platform like Elastic to power those detections, investigations, and overall responses, Elastic is helping those teams work smarter and stay ahead of fraud. Thank you, Joe, again, for your time and the level of excitement that you brought to this topic. We hope to hear more from you very, very soon as your boss.
Thanks for having me, team.
See ya.